Dang. That's cool.
He's popping on 8:15.
You nervous?
A little bit, just because I'm not. I mean, not exactly, but it's just I don't know how to like flow from this into that. So I'm sure it'll be. I just want it to be good. I always just want it to be good.
Yeah, I want it to be good too. But to help you
Same.
relax, do you want me to sing to you?
Do you wish that you loved me?
Are you trying to live?
No. Oh, I gotta get my notes back up.
Everything
no, I'm not.
is a lesson to learn.
I'm not really nervous, but please stop singing.
It's making him nervous.
Never forget
We're gonna get copyright stricken.
yourself.
Nah, I probably won't register.
Wait, what? What won't register? What?
I said we're probably gonna get copyright stricken. He's like, nah, it probably won't register.
Whatever, dude. I see the wrong lyrics to the Sleep Token song last time. It caught it though. It recognized the melody.
That's funny.
I'm so good at singing sometimes.
I feel like
Grayson,
I'm so far over this way.
Are you using that beef tallow yet, dude?
Sarah just bought some. I haven't used it yet.
What kind though?
What brand?
Yeah.
Oh, we plug
I
in?
honestly don't know.
No, we're not plugging nothing.
What kind of beef tallow did you buy? Nimi's Skincare.
I've never heard of that. Is it cooking grade? Because you can't rub that on your face.
It's not cooking grade. It's for faces.
It's for faces.
It's face grade.
It's good. All right.
It's funny.
Oh my gosh.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I'm going to be tired for this quarter.
Your quarter that you're saying no to?
No, this is my quarter where I wrap up everything I said yes to last quarter.
Yeah, this is the quarter where he's supposed to be wearing that shirt every day.
Yeah,
Do it.
it doesn't fit.
Gotta say no to them double dubs, dude.
I
Nathan's here.
love those.
Okay, I'm letting him in.
Wait, double dubs like double chi?
Heck
Yeah,
yeah, dude.
duh. Double cheese.
Yeah, dude, I love the double chi.
Yeah, dude. What's up,
Hey,
Nathan?
guys.
Hey, Nathan.
How's
Hey,
it going?
Nathan, hold on. Can we have it? Hold on, Nathan. Hold on, guys. He's here now. Can we be a little more professional?
Oh my God.
professional.
That's great.
How are
I
you
love
doing?
how moody it is in there. I feel like I'm like in the hospital over here.
No, it looks great.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
awesome.
Look at all them statues
Sorry.
and stuff back there. That looks
I
cool.
bring the lights low.
Yeah,
Is
you,
one of those
honestly,
statues you?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. This is funny. This is so Kevin McLean. He worked for Leica. He worked for Leica, but before that, he was at Vinton, Will Vinton Studios. And so he did, I mean, he's one of those stop motion prodigies. I think he was working at Vinton Studios when he was 16.
Wow.
And so he's
What?
at Disney now. He made the transition to CG. He was at DreamWorks. He's
cool.
at Disney. So anyways, but this was one that we have a caricature show every April 1st. And so he ended up doing some 3D versions, and he did this one of me. And I thought, he's like, "Do you want it?" I was like, "Heck yeah, I want it."
That's so cool.
That's so bad.
Yeah, before, I mean, I wanted to be a stop motion animator before a CG animator. So
Oh.
this is like a piece of, wish fulfillment here. So
That's cool. I see a little kid popping through the window.
yeah, that's my second. That's my second born.
We got some of those too. Might
Yeah,
pop in.
They pop in and out sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
man.
welcome to our little Threshold podcast. We really appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor to be on. So, Grayson, Jared, do you work? How do you know Blake?
I'm Blake's brother.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, Collins. Yeah, that makes
Yes.
sense. Yeah.
And then Blake and I met at VBS in like 5th grade,
Fourth grade. Yeah.
a long time
Who's
ago.
counting?
Yeah. Who's counting?
Yeah, we're over that 30-year-old threshold now, so it has to count.
Yeah,
Fifth-
we've just been
yeah.
best friends since childhood.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and then we were in a band together.
In high
I don't know
school.
where they are on your screen, but drummer,
All of us.
You guys
We're in
are
bands.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm down here
Yeah,
somewhere.
something like that. Yeah. So we've just been buddies ever since, and it's been a good life. So
Yeah.
Awesome. That's really great.
So, what's your life looking like right now, Nathan? With having wrapped Forevergreen, you guys are just in the awards kind of push, or
Yeah, so this is a big week for us. So Forevergreen was in the Oscar shortlist.
right?
So what that means is that they take the long list of about 100, and I think it was 113-ish films, and then they whittle that down to 15, and that's the
Wow.
short list. And so we made it to the short list. And then there's basically three phases. So that's phase one with the long list, and you have to get Oscar qualified. And we had one of the festivals there in Los Angeles, and then after that, once you're qualified, then you have to get that's on the long list, and then it does that with the short list. And then if you get on the short list, then they're gonna not. I think they do voting this week, and then by the 22nd, you'll make it to phase three, the nominations. So that would be
Wow.
they take the 15 and whittle it down to five, and then sorry, those five will go to the Oscars.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, so that's sorry, I'm getting a cold.
Dude, we all are.
We all are.
Oh man.
I'll cut it out
so-
at
post.
some stage of getting over it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this season has. I mean, we were pretty good most of the year, and then as
Yeah.
soon as like Christmas happened,
Holidays,
everyone
yeah.
just like. So it's very exciting. So we're doing a lot of behind the scenes videos and trying to get make as much noise as we can out there to just show the incredible work that our over 200 volunteers did over the 5.5 year span that we did making this film. So we're just very excited just to share what people have done, but also just to see if we have make as good a chance as we can to, make sure people see the film, understand where it came from, and all that jazz. So
Yeah.
Very
Jumping off on, people seeing it, you guys had it up on YouTube for a little bit. It's been in tons of festivals. Then you had it up on YouTube again. Do you guys have plans to release it again on YouTube for like a longer period, or you guys still waiting to see kind of what it does with distribution, or?
yeah,
Can
so
say.
we have distribution right now at Annecy Film Festivals, of one of the uh, biggest, oldest animation film festivals in Annecy, France, and it was just an honor to be in the festival. But we actually walked away with some distribution from that. We had won a special prize from Canal Plus, and Canal Plus is very big in Europe and well in France, but they have other territories in Australia and New Zealand, and there's African territories, and I mean, just it's kind of all over in Europe
Wow.
and beyond. And so it's kind of like for Americans, it's like, I mean, I know Netflix is everywhere, but it's
Yeah.
kind of rivals that. I think it's
Yeah.
pretty
Wow.
big,
Huge.
and so people who are from Europe know Canal Plus.
Mhm.
So we have a 3-year distribution deal with them, so it's just on there now. People domestically here aren't able to see it on their streamer, of course. The service is here. So we did, and Canal Plus was very generous. They allowed us to do those because you can't geo-block easily with
Right.
YouTube.
Mhm.
So we have to get permission, because really anyone in France could see it. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, it's on YouTube and there's really exclusivity over here. So they've been very cool. And that's why we've had to do it kind of in these phases.
see.
And they've been very accommodating
Mhm.
for us to be able to do that. So we did the Thanksgiving one, and it was great. I think we had over 200,000 views, which
Oh,
is
wow.
pretty great considering there was no real social media presence internet presence other than the Instagram stuff,
Right.
and some very few YouTube
Yeah.
clips that we release and behind the scenes stuff. But by and large, no one had heard of Forevergreen. So to have word of mouth like that from kind of ground zero, and seeing that kind of sharing that people had done was remarkable. And then
Yeah.
we had to kind of pull the plug from that, there were so many views per day, which was amazing how it kind of compounded. And then when we did it again at Christmas, we saw an additional 200,000. I think it was somewhere in the 400,000, almost
Yeah.
500,000
Wow.
views in 20 days total. So that it was pretty incredible to see, and just having heard the networks and people that it reached, homeschooling networks and professional in the industry. I mean, it kind of got all over the place,
Yeah.
and you have a crew of 200 people all kind of pumping it out there and trying to share it with friends and family. It was pretty incredible to see the response and the overwhelmingly positive comments, and lots of. I mean, you guys, I think there's a spiritual connection too. So even people who were Christians or knew about the spiritual allegory there were so encouraged, and then even people who weren't really just appreciated for the kind of parental story that it was, that sort of prodigal son thing. So
Yeah.
it was great. It was really neat to see. So plans, we're still open to distribution for domestic stuff. We're just kind of waiting and seeing. I think when things are nominated, more doors open, and if you win,
Sure.
of course, even more doors open. So
Yeah.
we're just trying to be patient with that and trust the Lord as far as where this should go. We're trying to be as very, very open-handed and just kind of, let God lead it. So,
Yeah. Well, that's really cool.
Cool.
So I want to jump back a little bit
okay.
and start with some kind of softball questions.
All right.
So, like for listeners and viewers who haven't seen the film, and we can talk spoilers, we can talk whatever, but do you have like a
Yeah.
kind of little rundown of what is this film?
Yeah. Okay. So Forevergreen is I mean, we've called it many things. Jeremy and I have called it an animated Bible track. We've called it a allegorical, our spiritual journey to God. But it was very important that it was accessible to all. So, I think what this film is, you have to kind of understand the genesis and the desire to even make the thing. And I think that was about for me, I had started early on with the project. I think there was a pretty dark season of time in my life where the Lord was really doing some work on me. And in short, those seasons when you're in the wilderness and it feels like the things that used to bring so much satisfaction to life and flavor were suddenly taken from me in order to just show kind of what mattered. It was almost as if the Lord was stripped away the joy of work and the joy of family, and it was just to like almost show like it's just about Christ, and then it like you got it, and then everything was restored. And in that season, I just sort of realized that I I think we can all do our vocations to the glory of God, and you can do that in any vocation in calling, but there was something pricking my heart at that time that the Lord was doing His work on me that made me feel like, wow, He put me in this one of the greatest storytelling animation studios in the world, and I've learned so much. I feel like I want to use these gifts for His glory explicitly. And there was just a burden and a calling, and I can't really explain it, but it felt like that spark that the Lord put in my heart was the thing that really carried me through the next 9 years. Because that started in early 2017. That's when I started trying to figure out a story with trees. It wasn't until Jeremy came on board in 2019 when that story evolved, and he had brought up a new idea, which is a really crazy story. We'll have to share one if we have time, but and he had been feeling the same thing. And so when we got together, we kind of Jeremy had pitched some ideas, and then we both fell in love with this new concept that he had, and then we really banged on the story together on that, and it's ultimately what became Forevergreen. That was at the beginning when we started, was the September 2019.
Okay.
And so we are just now releasing it. So all that is kind of our COVID project. So what is Forevergreen? It's a passion project that we felt the Lord pricking on our hearts to start and to give glory to Him, and to tell just a compelling story that was worthy of people's time and attention, to use our vocation and our time and our skills to tell something that maybe we didn't get to do in our
Yeah.
every day work. So that's what it was.
That's really cool.
Can I jump in, Blake?
Yeah.
So I saw some of the clips from you on the Prodigal podcast, and you were
Oh
talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
the tale of three trees, that
yeah,
story. So
yeah.
is that really what inspired this whole thing? Is that how it started? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Tale of the Three Trees was when I read that. Remember, I was in a state where I was really personally, and I know Jeremy has his own stories as well, where I think we've all kind of been in the wilderness at some point and how the Lord's kind of shaped our hearts. But for me personally, at least, the Tale of Three Trees was where it was starting for me. And in that season of darkness, it felt like, well, I don't know if you've read the book or not, but the
I haven't.
whole idea, it's a folk tale, and there's been different versions of it, but basically there's three trees and all of them have these grandiose ideas of what they want to become. One wants to be a treasure chest, one wants to be this mighty ship, and the other one wants to just grow tall, so when people look up they think of God or they think of heaven or whatever. But the problem is each one gets cut down, and they all get fashioned into something completely opposite. One gets fashioned to a feed trough, one gets fashioned to a common fishing boat, and the other one just is a pile of lumber. And ultimately, it turns into, long story short, the one tree turns into the trough that holds Christ, and he realizes he's carrying the greatest treasure. And then the next tree becomes the fishing boat that Christ gets on, and he stills the water. He realizes he's carrying the greatest king. And then the last one becomes the cross,
Oh
where
wow.
you end up looking up at God and then heaven when you think of this tree. So all of them actually got the wish they wanted, but not in the way they wanted it. And so for someone who was going through a very dark season at that time, I was weeping over this book, because it was like, if God can use broken vessels like me to make something beautiful, or to be a part of his story in a beautiful way,
Yeah.
that was where I almost like surrendered my own will on what I wanted to do, and use my, like, oh, I'm going to be a director for Disney or something because I want to do the, it's like I had the wrong motives, and I didn't. It's like what God did was put a story in my heart that was like I had to tell. These other ones were like I didn't have to tell them. Now all of a sudden I have all these things I need to say
Yeah.
because like it was like he refocused my heart in that. So it started there. But then, when you're telling something in a film form, it's like the Three Little Pigs. Once you kind of get the first one, the audience is ahead of you. And so I spent like 2 years trying to figure out how to, remember, this is on our free time. So I'm still making films and stuff
Yeah.
like that at Disney. And so you can only put so much free time at something. So you're really doing things at about a quarter speed, maybe even slower
Yeah.
than you would. That's why it took us had the Forevergreen story. It took us 5 years to make the thing. You know what I mean? But like we kind of banged out the story pretty quick within like 6 to 9 months. So everything else was just slow motion, working on the side.
Yeah.
So, anyways, all I have to say is that, fast forward when, there was a point in time when I was a little bit, I was fearful about putting God. This might sound silly to some people, but I was fearful of putting God's word on fantasy. Just out of fear of God. Like, does this even belong here? I know that people have done allegory or supposition, as C.S. Lewis would call it, for things like Narnia or whatever. So we almost just kind of assume that it's okay because someone before us did it. But like, I don't know, there was a burden on my heart that was sort of like, well, I don't see this in the Bible. It's like, just
Interesting.
because C.S. Lewis and Tolkien did these things, it's like, is this okay for me to do this? And they didn't put verses on their stuff, and they weren't showing, you know what I mean? So, anyways, I was wrestling with these things, and ultimately, right, that was happening as the time that Jeremy was interested in working together. And I kid you not, I had prayed a prayer that was like, God, if it even if you don't want me to do this current version, because I had gotten a new version, I whittled it down to one tree, I was like ready to go. I got Josh Garrels excited about it and was like ready to go. And then Jeremy was like, what are we doing? And so I had prayed. I was like, God, even if there is a different story you want me to tell, then put it on Jeremy's heart and have him come up with something completely different. I don't need to be the guy, right? And that's exactly what happened. But what was interesting about that story is that I had an opportunity to witness to a coworker, and they were listening to some, podcasters, and he was just very interested in trying to understand more about what the Bible said. And so I said, "Oh, it's interesting. I actually had bought that Bible for you, and I just had never given it to you." And it was sitting in my office, and I was telling him about the gospel, and he was kind of asking. He was like, where, like, why the cross? And so I drew him this on an envelope on this Descanso Gardens. For people that don't know what this is, it's a botanical garden in Los Angeles. And so I flip it over, and because I want to get educational enhancement. Disney at the time would pay for subscriptions so that it's like, it was a cool program. But so I flip it over and I draw that quintessential Bible track of God on one side on a cliff, man on the other, this big chasm between, this vertical line that the sin separates, and then there's a bridge that goes across, and it makes a cross. And so when he saw that, he goes, "Oh, is that it?" Like a light bulb went off.
Interesting.
And it was so cool to see that. I was like, yes, but hold on to that. It's like the enemy is going to try to take that away. The simplicity of the gospel of like why the cross needed to happen to bring us back to God. So, kiddos, see,
Every night, dude.
I love it. It's a family affair here. I love it. Anyway, so all that to say is that I had done that while Jeremy was going away and cooking up ideas and trying to, retool my version of the one tree and the one that Josh Garrels was interested in, and just kind of cleaning it up. And so he comes back to me like 2 weeks later, and I sit down in his office. He's like got the boards up, and he's going to pitch me it. And I sit down, and I'm kind of eyeballing this thing over here that looks a lot like that, that same thing I drew. I'm trying to just focus. Okay, let's read. He's like, okay, so he's kind of like going through the thing. Oh, here's kind of the stuff. We could simplify this and we can make it like that. I'm like, And then he goes to the next one. He's like, and then I had to try something a little different, because in the version of the three trees, what's kept was that we were kind of the tree character. Like man was the one. It was the character that learned something, and there was a woodsman that played more of the, benevolent kind of Christ-like personality. And so, and he kind of inverted that, where it was like the tree was this benevolent, a Christ-like figure, and then maybe a bear or someone else would be. So he brought the bear. We always say he brought the bear, I brought the tree. And then so he's pitching this, and he gets to that moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, man. Oh my gosh. And like everything, the world's colliding for me, because I'm praying about this, and I'm like, God, just give Jeremy a different idea. And so all of a sudden I'm just like, is this really happening? Like, it's one of those moments where you're like, God's real. He heard me.
He's talking to me.
You're watching in real time as your prayers come to reality.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of listening to him, but I'm also just like kind of freaking out. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, Jeremy, stop. And he's like, what? I was like, I have to go show you this thing downstairs. And he goes, you mean that thing on your desk? And I was like, wait, what? How do you know about the thing on my desk, the drawing on my desk? He goes, well, funny story. When I drew this, I actually went downstairs. I was so excited, and I wanted to share it with you, except you were in a meeting. And I saw your office mate, and I just said, hey, where's Nathan? And he's like, he's at a meeting, whatever. And he goes, oh, that's interesting. I just drew that upstairs. It was on my desk, so it was just crazy, man, because, we would love to try to take like credit for this, but it was really God leading that. And so we share that story as like how it started, but like really we felt God's hand leading it. And so, we shared it with Josh. I was kind of nervous that he'd be like, oh, well, you guys, what do this is amateur hour that you thought we were gonna make this film. Oh no, I'm just kidding. We're gonna make this one over here. But he loved it. His wife loved it and teared up at even the concept. He's like, when my wife tears up at my songs, I know they're like some of my best ones. So he's like, I think we've got something good. So like everyone just like changed direction immediately and went down this path. And
that's pretty cool.
That's really cool. I think you kind of just answered this in one way. But was there a point that you realized this wasn't just going to be like a little short film to gain the experience? Did it ever click in your mind that, hey, I know at some point it did, because like, hey, there's over 200 people on this, but was there kind of like a big like holy cow moment, or multiple, I guess?
Well, every time you start to get people like Jeff Draheim, who's the editor of the Frozen movie, or Moana, or you know what I mean, like it starts to become real in a different way, and you start to say, I don't want to let these people down, right? Like they've already given of their time, which I mean, Jeremy and I always said was in some ways was almost more expensive, because we weren't paying them, right? So this was a film where people were donating their free time to make the film. No one got paid.
Yeah.
And so, if you change an idea or you give a note, but you're being compensated monetarily speaking, it's like that's your job,
Right.
But if you're not getting paid for it, like, and then you change things or something happens, or like that hurts like doubly, thrice fold, right? It is. And so that burden made it more and more real the more and more people came on. So because the more work that would be done, it's like, well, now we have to finish this. We can't, not finish. So I think, I would say there was probably a bell curve of reality and the burden, the more people that came on, the more that felt real and whatever. But honestly, I think I keep pointing back to that moment where we saw that image of the tree kind of falling over there's the next one.
It's number 2.
How many kids do you have, Jason?
Just those 2.
Oh, okay. I've got 4, so it's it's usually like a train, but Anyway, so
sorry.
No, you're good, man. I love that it's a family thing here. This is great. So I would say that moment when we saw and we're like, this feels like God has orchestrated something like that, where it really became real there, where it felt like, okay, this is feels like something we have to do. But there's cool. Different degrees, I think, over time.
Yeah, that's cool. Grace and Jared, feel free to jump in whatever, but I'm just going down my list of different things. So the whole look of the film, very, very cool. The wood carvings, the stop motion to it. You've kind of alluded to some of those things, but what was that like, the whole woodsy aesthetic from? Is that from the trees that you had already been interested in the 3 tree story, or why the carved?
Yeah, so this is kind of a neat story that, again, sort of there were things I was doing and things Jeremy were doing that just meshed very well. So Jeremy was in bear land already. He had just created a successful bear carving that he was sending out. And Jeremy is a wood carver and has his own business. And so he's a guy who has sort of developed an aesthetic style already. That, I mean, I love stylistic like, I'm a huge fan of Aardman and stop motion, and so is he. And so, and so I think our design sensibilities already meshed well. And I already had the tree woodsy kind of thing going on. I kid you not, I grew up I don't think I've ever said this on a podcast. I feel like we need to get a photo of this somewhere, but when I was 10,
we'll put it in later. Just send it to us. We'll put it in.
Oh my gosh, it's the most embarrassing thing ever.
Do it.
But it was so when I was 10, I kid you not, in my childhood room was all bears and trees. I mean, like, decked out in like
crazy.
pine pine needle patterned pillows. It's a kind of it's like a Where's Waldo? Like if you can count how many bears there are, you know, like the I
Oh
Spy
wow.
books, like
Oh
if you,
my
Yeah.
gosh.
there's probably over 50 bears that you have to like find in the room. I kid you not. So it was a barren tree. Like I felt like it was made to, you know, make forever. It was just like absorbing this film early on, but and so I felt like I love that. We both have a love for national parks. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I think we love mid-century. We love classic Disney stuff. So there was just like it was just very easy to work together, and we were
Yeah.
just like, yeah, I like that. So do I. It's like, what if we did that? That's great. You know what I mean? It just was. There was never really any argument about what appeal, what this, what that. I mean, we spoke the exact same language.
Hmm.
And so when we were talking about what this Forevergreen film was going to be, I got very excited about one of his wood sculptures about how this could look. And I was trying to push him and saying, "Hey, what if we did your wood carving style?" And he thought that there was a lot of benefit to that, where we didn't have to create on the fly some new aesthetic. You know, it was almost
Mm-hmm.
like that would give us a head start.
Yeah.
And so, you know, he was dabbling in that. He already he knew the design language of that, and
Mm-hmm.
so he just we got to work, you know. And I did a
Yeah.
little test with one of his bear carvings to try to test out what the animation style could look like.
Mm-hmm.
So in stop motion, there's a thing called replacement animation. And so we're big on truth of materials. You don't want wood to feel like rubber, and CG can do that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And again, remember, I'm like a stop motion nut at heart. And so there's really a love letter to stop motion. Never got to do it. Still want to do it one day. But, you know, that was one of those things where how are we going to do this if this was a real tactile, physical set? And so I came up with a prototype of that, which I then gave to the crew, and they
Hmm.
did exquisite things with it beyond anything I could have ever imagined with the stop motion system. But so that look with Jeremy's style combined with the things I was doing to try to bring it to life, those two things combined is kind of what made that style.
Hmm.
And the style is all well and good on its own, right? I think there's thing that happens in Hollywood when you know you hear the Brahm, the Hans Zimmer Brahm, for example, right? It just and then it's pasted over everything because it's
Mm-hmm.
just it's in vogue, right?
Yeah.
It's that is the latest and greatest that's going to sell a ticket.
Yeah.
The problem is, from what I heard, I think the Brahm was even something written in the script. I think this was something that was so specifically tied to time and to the story and the narrative that
Mm-hmm.
it's like people like latch onto that because it's specific to the narrative. Another
Mm-hmm.
film that did that was Spider-Verse. Everyone lost their
Hmm.
mind when that came out, but that cinematic language was so specific to comic books
Mm-hmm.
and just like I mean, like urban life, and it just was so amazing because it fit the narrative so well. It grew out of the narrative, and so
Hmm.
um, that was something that was very important to us, that we weren't
Yeah.
just making cool stop motion wood carving stuff. And where that came from is that one of the things that I thought was kind of neat in my research on trees was that, you know, the a tree, when you look at the wood grain, is really the life of it's a time capsule, right?
Hmm.
And the wood grain rings are every year. It's kind of like our life, right? And if a tree gets damaged, you kind of see that scar and that ripple effect of the rings radiating in concentric circles out. So it's almost like trials in our life where, you know, when something happens, a devastating, a loss of a loved one or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that also ripples through the rings of
Hmm.
our life.
Yeah.
And so there's so many great parallels with trees, and of course in the Bible there's so many agrarian things that, you know, like so many parables because it's an agrarian culture, and so it felt right that there was some connection to the life of these characters because of the, you know, this research that I had been doing about trees and our connection to them, and
Yeah.
how they could be sort of an allegory to our own life, and you know, seasons of drought and plentiful, and you know what I mean, like the thicker the thinner rings. And
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so we thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if it was wood and it looked like the bear could have been carved from the tree in that Genesis 1 type of way, where we are made or were made in the image of God. And so, in that sort of allegory way, that it looks like the bear could have been carved from the tree, so that when the antithetical man-made material shows up, because it's mostly it's a wooden world,
Yeah.
and then when we've discovered the campsite and all the trash and the steel wool and the vacuum formed plastic, when the bear is sitting in that pile after already seeing a whole first act of, cuddly cub in this nice wooden cub and wooden branches and the warmth of that handcrafted, textures and stuff, you would think that him sitting in that pile of trash was wrong subliminally,
Yeah.
right? And so just the materials were a way to kind of draw out the contrast, but to actually connect the emotion and the relationship with the tree and the bear. And actually, the tree and the bear are the only ones that do that texture wobble, that stop motion
Oh,
texture wobble
yeah.
technique.
Oh,
And that actually
interesting.
became the heartbeat of the character. And if you want even a little more nerdiness, one of the things that we thought would be really cool, Wayne Unton, our head of animation, and we're kind of just concocting, well, what could we do with the tempo of that.
Mm-hmm.
The cub is very frenetic and it's more active, and the tree is much more stable, so you have this kind of stable heartbeat, like you can think of it in like a BPM, right?
Yeah.
There is earlier in life it's
Yeah.
right, and then you kind of like stabilize, and
Mm-hmm.
so the BPM, to borrow sound music, I mean musical terminology, it's like the BPM of the oscillation got slower at the end when the bear had learned his lesson to be more like the
Oh.
trees. So when
Oh,
you
that's
see
so
him in the
cool.
epilogue, as a bear that's teaching his
Yeah.
spunky little cub
Yeah.
what he learned from the tree. And that's supposed to be one of those things where we are to be more Christ-like the longer we
Huh.
walk with him, you
Dude,
know?
during my whole time like working on this, like I think every time I watched it, I saw something new, and I
Yeah.
thought I'd seen it all, and then I'm embarrassed to say, but even that waterfall coming down as the cross at the end, like it took me
Mm.
right up until the end till I even noticed that.
Oh
I was like, I
yeah.
got the bridge thing, but like seeing the water,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
the
that's cool. I'll
waterfall is
have
a
to look
subtle
out for
one,
that.
but I mean that goes back to what we said earlier about
Yeah.
that is the image of
Mm-hmm.
what the film is in a nutshell. I mean, that is the
Yeah.
Bible track image,
Yeah.
of the two
Yeah.
cliffs and the vertical and the bridge. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
So,
Super
yeah.
cool.
So when you were building your team, and you and Jeremy kind of had this idea, and then sharing that to then a team of animators, or all the different aspects of it, was there a point of difficulty in like trying to get them to get your vision across, or how much did you give and pull
Oh,
with like, hey, this is our vision, go with that, or were they
yeah.
able just to mimic it and copy it and do exactly what, or
Well, I think this is the benefit of having your boards in the story locked before you go, because I
yeah.
think we wanted this to be worthy of people's time and attention,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, look, so much of working in the industry, as I'm sure you guys know, is that there's an element of change that happens naturally when you need to feed the beast, and
Yeah.
story changes arise, and then you just need to pivot, and there's freneticness, and ultimately, hopefully something is birthed that's beautiful and worthy of people's time and attention. But because we were asking people to donate their free time, it was just one of those things where we needed to have our ducks in a row, and there just
Mm-hmm.
needed to be no um question marks as far as like what was the story, what was the
Yeah.
vision. And so I mean, we even made a little sizzle reel that was sort of the promise of what the style could be.
Hmm.
And the more people that came on, we kept updating that. And so what we would do is we would send the story reel, and then we would also send first message them and say, are you interested in even hearing a pitch?
Yeah.
And then most people would say, yeah, I'm interested. Yeah, I'd take a lunch and just look at this. And so send them the sizzle reel, send them the story reel. And oftentimes the story reel was so powerful that it was already squeezing tears out of people back then with like really rough sketches.
Yeah.
And so we knew we had something, and people were pretty much on board right away.
Oh, that's cool.
The challenge wasn't getting people to see the vision. It was the challenge was getting people to stay inspired. And so we had, because it's easy to be inspired and go, yeah, let's make this thing. And then a week goes by and, you know, work is busy and you're stressed and you're tired and you got home from work late or you're doing overtime. And then you're like, I don't feel like turning my computer on again, you know, like, so we kind of started, we coined the two phrases for, there's either inspiration or perspiration in the two modes of our donated time. And we felt it too. And so we had each other to kind of spur each other on.
Right.
But really we moved at the speed of people's generosity, and the way we tried to find new ways of inspiring the crew and share new artwork. And there was always some way to get people to get excited again about the project and to jump in and do the work. That was the challenge. Really, once we gave them the idea of this world, they actually challenged us in making it more ambitious. So at first, the whole world wasn't fully wooden. And in the waterfall, we were like, maybe we do like a cellophane thing or whatever, you know, like we were open to other ideas of like what the materials could be. It wasn't until Dan Lund, one of the effects artists, he's an amazing 2D effects artist at Disney, he had done a little sketch and had an idea for the waterfall, and it was all wooden, and we're like, huh, this world needs to be all wooden. Like, it was one of those things where like that's what he brought to the table, and really emboldened us to do that. And then you have other people, it's like, you give them the challenge, you go, what do you think about wooden rapids? And they're like, yeah, you know, like, we couldn't pay people in money, but we can pay them with a challenge.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that if you give an artist a challenge, it's like payment. I don't recommend it for studios. You should really be paying your artist. But when you have a passion project, it was really helpful. People ask, like, how did you get people to be excited about that? You go, well, we gave them, it was a challenge. We were like, well, I guess this bar is now up here because we've said that everything is wooden. So can you do wooden rapids? And that excited people. Like, they're like, I do I do water simulations all the time for film. You know, it's like, I would love to try to figure out wood grain, wooden rapids with, you know, planar curl splash hits and wood grain torrents, and you know what I mean? Like,
so cool.
people, so that was kind of an amazing thing where we actually, that people were giving us ideas on how to make it better, and actually made it more ambitious and difficult to finish. But like, that wasn't where the challenge was. To the vision, I think once you cast the vision, it was like Pandora's box. Like, you just couldn't shut it.
Yeah.
How much was faith part of the pitch?
So, you know, we had a crew where there were some people who shared our faith, and I would say the majority of people do not, you know. And awesome. So we were trying to be very sensitive to that as well, but we also wanted to be very clear how we were going to talk about it. And so early on, we tried as best as we could. Towards the end, I think we didn't get to as everyone, but we would do, I mean, we would have lunch. I mean, we would send the film to people, and then we would meet with them for 45 minutes to an hour. Everyone. So if you do the math on, you know, like, I mean, we did that with at least 150 people. There was a good chunk of people that we didn't do that with, that were outside the studio, or who did like the instrumentation, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, but there was a good chunk of probably 150 people that we had sat down with and spent an hour with. That's 150 hours to sit down with people, tell them our hearts. Because we didn't want to do the shotgun approach where we announce it in a department meeting, or we you know, like, blast a bunch of people, because no one wants that. You want to feel like you're
brought in.
You specifically, I want you, Jared. Like, there was something that I see in your work that we need on this film, and that was true. That was actually very true. And so we actually went and like kind of handpicked people, and there were people that we wish we could have gotten, but we're busy, and we were just trying to be sensitive to that. Yeah. But you know, when we work with people at Disney who were some of the best, you know, it was amazing. There was just it's the embarrassment of riches, as that saying goes. I don't know if I like that. It sounds bad, but it's just an enormous treasure trove of this incredible talent around us, and beyond in our networks. And so, some of the people, how we would approach this meeting is that we would sit down with them. We would say, "Hey, we're Christians. This is our story. We are that bear character."
Yeah.
And we would say, if this makes you uncomfortable, no hard feelings at all. We want to make sure that everyone knows, like, this is how we want to talk about it at the end. We share the prodigal son story. We share, this is kind of our faith journey. And then we give them an out.
Sure.
And out of, I don't know, 205 or so people, I think only one person said no thank you afterwards.
Wow.
And so it was cool. I mean, we had people who, or people who do not believe what we believe, or maybe an atheist or agnostic. We're just like, I don't believe what you believe, but this film is so fun and appealing that I have to be a part of it. Like, we
That's
had
the best.
heard that from people, where it was that, I don't know if it's a Steve Martin quote or where I get some of these things, but it's the "be so good they can't ignore you" thing, right?
Yeah.
And then do whatever you can do for the glory of God, right? Do whatever your hand finds to do with all your might, right? It's the Ecclesiastes or a proverb, whatever,
Yeah.
It's a Solomonism. And so, that was how we operated. And I think that was palpable to people, and they wanted to jump on that moving train.
Yeah.
And so, what was cool about the parables and the prodigal son story is that it does function both on a sort of maternal, paternal level, familial level, but then it also works spiritually. And it's a sort of the, if you know, but hopefully you can enjoy it even if you don't believe that, And so I think that if it was kind of a neat common ground, and we had so many opportunities to pray for our crew. I mean, Jeremy and I would get together every week and pray for people specifically and collectively. And, just on a note on that, we would always say this film is powered by prayer. We really did feel that way. And we tried to make it a point to thank God for the crew and their generosity. And we tried to shower them with gifts and praise and acknowledgement at the very best we can.
Yeah.
So.
So
cool.
I have a question. I want to go back to, you were talking about the wooden world, right? So the textures.
Yeah.
And I'm very much an audio guy more than a film guy.
Sure.
Like Grayson nerds out on the film stuff.
Yeah.
Blake obviously worked on the film. He's a sound guy. So this is kind of a question for him too.
Yeah.
But, I was rewatching the film with my family last night, I think. And there's so much texture in the wooden world and what's not wooden. And it goes hand in hand with that sound design.
Yeah.
So there's that one scene where the bear kind of finds his sin in like the potato chips, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, no spoilers. Spoiler
Yeah.
talk. So I'm sitting
It's out there in the world. People
Yeah.
see it.
So my daughter gets very emotional. So she's like sitting next to me because she kind of remembers the first time she saw it a few weeks ago.
Right.
But we're sitting there and the potato chips flop there. But the potato chips come out and they're not wooden. They're like this shiny, gross plastic. And Cece was like, "Ew, Dad." And I was like, "I know. Don't those look like your fake potato chips in your toy kitchen?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "Yeah, that's gross." And then like the bear starts eating them, right? So how do you find those textures that, like, you have this beautiful wooden world, but then you have textures that, like, we have plastic stuff all around us, right? Everywhere, all over my desk, there's plastic stuff, but then the plastic is disgusting. And then I guess the texture part for Blake is like, how do you balance the visual to the audio to make this like mundane, almost pointless thing be repulsive with sound, right? Visibly and audibly. Like those we eat potato chips, and then all of a sudden you see them in this and you're just like, whoa, potato chips, where'd those come
Yeah.
from? So-
Blake, you should take that, man. That's a Blake question.
So, yeah, I hate all like mouth sounds and chewing and like all that kind of
Hold
stuff.
on, let me do this louder for you.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah,
do this
yeah.
louder for you.
So, like right off the bat, I know that could be off-putting to some people, but more than just that, like Nathan knows this, but I think towards the beginning of me being involved, I was like, hey guys, what if we make everything, all the sound out of wood too? And I found out pretty quick that was a very bad idea for the time that I had. I was like making bear roars out of wood and, just all the stuff. So some of the stuff we did, but most of it we went more realistic. And then kind of turned into a game of, okay, like what do you want to hear? And we wanted to have that drastic change of, okay, these are wood things, these are warm textures of the bear and the tree and that kind of stuff. And then how synthetic can we go with some of this stuff? So I think we maybe even use something like a poker chip or something that has that kind of clackiness to it. And we just wanted it to be far removed from the natural world. And then, Joanna and her chewing ability was in full force on the mic there. So a lot of times when I record like chewing sounds and stuff, like I'll get a sound, I'll make sure I get good level, and then I just mute my monitor so I don't hear anything, and I can just see the waveform being recorded. And as long as it's there, I know we're good. And
I didn't know you're so disturbed by chewing, man.
That's so funny.
It's chewing in mouth and just
for your birthday, I'll just send you a voice memo of chewing cake.
Please do. So yeah, I mean, we often we grab for the thing that we see on the screen. So we were able to grab a bag of chips and get that like very harsh, sound of the packaging. So that kind of sets it off when the crow's off screen, kind of, snapping at it or whatever, and kind of just went from there. And I thought the sounds were kind of gross, but not too gross of the chewing that it's going to be like super off-putting to everybody. You get a thing, and it almost leaves you a little bit. There's a little bit of lip smacking in there, so you're like, oh, something about that seems good. But then as you see the destruction of what happens, you're like, oh yeah, maybe that's not good.
That's funny.
I thought it was appealing lip smacks and chewing.
Yeah,
great.
It was the right amount. Yeah.
Most people don't have my issues, but
Yeah.
Did you guys hide anything in the trash? I was wondering if there was like any or is there anything hidden throughout the movie that we might not see?
I think
Easter
there's you should look at, there's some label design. Actually, we're going to be releasing an art of book, and I don't know if some of the package, there is a slide for package design. I don't know if it has some of the thing, but there were also legality things that we were trying to avoid, where we're referencing I don't know, whether it's
Lays
a chip thing or
whatever.
or any, I mean, or a slogan and you change a word. And, it's like, we just don't need to have any legal problems, and we got our lawyer look at it and stuff. But so I don't remember about that, but there was some generic kind of fun things we had played. We definitely have Easter eggs in the film.
Okay.
But before we go there, I do want to touch on what Blake said.
Yeah.
And I'll jump back to Easter eggs. But the thing about why I think that works so well, the harmony of picture and sound, and that is that Bruce Block has a book on visual storytelling, and there's a whole section on contrast and affinity. So how much something is different or the same, right? And so when you have a world of entirely wood, and your brain is being trained even subliminally to understand this wooden world, and then this foreign material comes out of nowhere, it actually is amplified. It's the first time you hear something synthetic. And so that was very purposeful in that there was only, and we talked, right, Blake, at so many about like that contrast where we would get just that sharp alien type. We even use the crow caw that is more wood knocky, but it's done in kind of this alien like kind of sound. Sorry, Blake.
Oh, do more. He loves it. He loves it, Nathan.
He loves it. But they do this weird sound, and so it was really important for us to make it as foreign and alien as possible. I mean, that is what sin is. It's about as foreign and alien to God and holiness as it can be, right? And so I think that was important for the allegory, but I think it works and it hits home more because of just contrast. And so, but I thought Blake and his team had done an excellent job knocking it out of the park, so that when we see the visual and it's tied to such a specific sound design, it works. I don't know. That's my theory. I think
does work.
For Easter eggs, I just think we have a few in there. I don't know if you caught the campsite 316. in there. That was
A little
the
post.
campsite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a little tent, but it also acts as an arrow, like pointing up.
Yeah.
And then there's a 3:16, and if people don't know, John 3:16 is, "For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son. Whoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life." It's like the VBS verse that every kid
Yep.
learns in
Mm-hmm.
church, and so it's one of those things where there's a lot of graces along the way, even when the bear has rejected God. That I feel like common grace. You hear verses like in Matthew when Jesus is on the Sermon on the Mount, where he's like, you've said, you've heard an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth, but I say to you, love your enemies and those who persecute you, because then being like your Father in heaven who sends rain and sun on the evil and the good,
Mm.
right? So the argument is that there are common graces, even though people are angry or hate God or don't believe in God, that God still showers them literally so that they can eat and provide food and gives jobs and the sun and all these wonderful things that are just kind of taken for granted, right?
Mm.
Um, and so here's a common grace that is given even in our disobedience, that there's a
Mm-hmm.
literal signpost in the campsite that keeps trying to point back to him,
Mm.
right? And so there's another one of those
Mm.
where when he falls into the water, the thing that he grabs onto is a branch, right?
Mm.
And so that is just like an extension of the
Mm.
tree, right? There's
That's
just
cool.
wherever we could to be like, God will, even in your disobedience, it will give you help,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that you don't drown or become overwhelmed, or you know what I mean? Like, and I just don't. He's not even. He's ignoring that though, right? And even turns his head up on it as he's walking away. So there was a lot of those opportunities where we tried to pepper in some sort of little nugget, or things that you could appreciate on rewatch. So and I think that's just what we do,
Mm-hmm.
and our vocations is just like when you're putting so much time and effort into something, you want it to have rewatchability,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and I think that only comes from really thinking a long time about what this scene or what this moment or what this shot could, which you can pack into it, but still not be distracting or or
Yeah.
anything like that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Going
great.
back to the sound a little bit, we don't have
oh
to
yes,
stay on that a lot, but I know how early the conversation started. But did you guys have any kind of like preconceived notions of what sound could be or how sound should play a role minus the score? Could you talk to a little bit about how you guys thought about sound for this?
yeah. So I don't know. I'm in the camp of sound being like 50, 60% of the movie going experience. It's massive, right?
Yeah.
Between score and Foley and sound design, everything is just it's so much of your movie going experience and one of the senses of our persons, right?
Yeah.
That and so yeah, it was a big part of what we were talking about for this film. A lot of times we got really excited about, I know in early conversations we talked about what if this thing were all wooden. Blake even made, I wish you had it right there, man,
I
but
have a video somewhere.
you have a video? Okay.
Yeah.
He made like a pendulum kind of wind chime thing out of wood and kind of hung it there, and so he kind of messed with it. And we did a little test early on of having that loop over and over again to have it sound like rapids or
Mm.
a trickling stream,
Mm-hmm.
and it actually was very good. And I think you kind of did some other modulation stuff to it, but like
Mm-hmm.
that got us really excited. We're like, well, what else could we do in this world? So that, like, again, that contrast and affinity stuff was kind of the like we should do this with every part of the film.
Yeah.
And I think think to Blake's point earlier, it became very like some of the like for example the bear noises. Blake was using like wooden or metal things to try to get like a bear roar, and some things were expressive, but it started sounding almost like too weird,
Yeah.
and so we stuck with more bear sounds,
Yeah.
just to make sure that it was more emotion and character first.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
then if we got to do some of the cool fun stuff that the more heady conceptual stuff, that was more in service of that. And so that was a decision to kind of back off a bit on that. But yeah, we had talked early on about that, as well as the score, because there's no dialogue, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so we knew that the score and the sound effects were going to play a huge part in this film. But yeah, so I think it was really because early on, I mean, you were the guy, Blake. I mean, Jeremy was like, I've got a buddy and he's, over at Skywalker. He's got his own thing over here, and so he told me, he shared about, I was like, that sounds like the guy. And so I remember we talked to you and you're like, let's do it. And so, but yeah, we knew early on that it needed to kind of help and support the woodsy world we were creating.
Yeah. Did you ever run into any point in the production of like, hey, there is no dialogue, and were you? I mean, the film is very visually expressive, and so I think almost everything comes across there, and
Yeah.
the temp and the beginning stuff that Jeff did with cutting and all the sound effects really helped sell the story. But was there any moments where like, hey, this scene we're really going to need either score or sound effects to really push this idea through, or
Yeah.
anything like that?
Yeah, I think there was definitely intentional. I mean, it's not wall to wall
Yeah.
soundtrack, right? But there's a lot of coverage
Yeah.
on the music side.
Mm-hmm.
And then we stop it for moments like the chip where we're really making a point to say a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's all about sound design. And even when you're in Death Valley, there's a lot of sound design going on down there. And
Yeah.
so there's these really critical moments of the story where, again, that contrast and affinity thing, it's like, and I think every good film does this, where it's they know when to turn the volume down on the music and turn the volume up on the sound, or
Yeah.
even just to remove everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know we talked a while about that crossover beat,
Yeah.
right, where that was there was a moment where the bear, when he rejects the tree and he goes down into the valley and he's kind of getting knocked around in the rapids.
Mm-hmm.
We had asked Blake if we could do a thing where we would drown out sort of the sound effects, which I felt bad because there's a lot of great work in there. But if you like knock that back, so really the score could bleed through more, and we still kept some of the sound in there. It was just toned way back in that one section, because we wanted people to feel that this was a really sad thing.
Yeah.
And I think when it's competing with like both sounds and that, I think you could get distracted maybe a little
Yeah.
bit with like the nuance and just the artistry of that, where it's like
Yeah.
you just wanted like the story to bleed through of like he's just rejected his friend, and just like let that simmer a bit. And so on that specific part, the other thing that it did, what was just so great and kind of genius from Josh and Isaac, was who did the score, that was our composers. They had that felted piano thing or whatever they had put for those two strong keys that would play when the bear is being pulled up during the cross moment. But that is actually it's a, what is it, a reprise? What is it? Is that
I
where
think
it
so.
comes back? Yeah. So it was actually introduced on the crossover.
Hmm.
So you hear that felted piano or whatever that piano is there, and so you hear those chords early on, and then you get the payoff of those chords later. But if it was competing with a bunch of sound effects, it probably wouldn't hit quite as hard. Again, that's one of those subliminal things that you maybe like are just
Yeah.
trying to build towards that moment, because we knew that cross moment was like the moment.
Yeah.
So were those times? Yes, there were absolutely those times. I don't think I answered your question though, because you had a part
No,
A.
I think you did. You guys, you and Jeremy both had very good, what's the word, ideas or or thoughts about, hey, let's pull this back and play this and push that and take that out. Like
Yeah,
I
very
thought that was
intentional.
yeah, I thought that was very good and it helped me too as a sound designer and a mixer and stuff to really feel because there's so many times, at least in the sound world, where like what we do and what we record and what we edit, we're like, oh, it has to be heard. It has to be heard. And that's not always
Mm,
the case. Like by the time we get to the re-recording stage, like when you guys were with
mm-hmm.
me over at Sony, it's really we have to get your vision and the
Yeah,
film's vision of what it's trying to do. And so it's just
yeah.
you're taking all these pieces and you say, okay, let's pull all this out and only put this in or put all this
Mm-hmm.
in where it, what serves the picture best. And you
Yeah.
guys had good ideas and good thoughts on that. And then, getting to sit at Disney on some of those screenings with David and Bernice. And like
Mm,
that was just, it was so valuable,
yeah.
valuable.
Yeah, that's invaluable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, just getting like these titans of my industry, like David Fleur, and just having him. And I was just telling somebody this the other day, like that last screening that we had with you and you guys kind of just looked, you and Jeremy and David just kind of looked over me and they're like, no notes. And I was like, what? Like
Yeah, it was
that, I mean, I
great.
still got goosebumps again, just thinking like
Yeah, he's told
Yeah.
us about that.
to
Yeah,
get
he said he
that.
talked about that. He said it was like, dude, it was so cool. No, no, it's
Yeah,
like the first
yeah.
time ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
It was incredible. I remember that screening. I remember David just being really
yeah,
really impressed too, and that had to have been cool for you, man. I mean, like you said, a
yeah,
titan in the industry, and
yep,
looking over at you and just like patting you on the back, right? It's
yeah,
like that's such a cool thing. I will say there were things that during the process, just like anything in art, I think, where you have an idea and you think it's going to work, just to make
hmm
it so we're like we weren't perfect in this. It's like
yeah,
I remember there were things that we thought would be a good idea, and then when you heard it, like we sent you down a little bit of a rabbit hole. Like for
mm.
example, one of those was the claw marks in the getting pulled away,
Uh-huh,
and so we were like, gosh, there's a sound in my head
yeah,
like it just needs the note was we need to hear that claw mark. It's really when the tree's pulling him back
hmm
and you hear the planar curls come up, which is such a
yeah,
cool effect
right,
done by Bruce, right? He did such a fantastic job. And it's one of those effects that really stands out. And we wanted to
hmm
like really, hit that the sound.
hmm
And so it was one of those like maybe you just need to add more gravelly, more this. And I remember when we got into the booth with you when
hmm
the final mixing, and we're like, what if you just like isolate stuff and just start removing stuff?
yeah,
And it wasn't until we removed everything that you could hear. I was like, well, what is this sound made up of? And you showed
yeah,
the different layers and pieces that it was made of. And there was one track that was actually like the scratching planer thing. I was like, well,
hmm
that's it. That's
yeah,
that's the sound. And I think we just goosed that
yep,
the volume of that
hmm
and stripped it all away. But that was an example of removing was actually like the solution,
yeah,
and it was really a great lesson even for me where it's like it's not always addition,
hmm
subtraction could be addition as well.
yeah,
you know
yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry, let me just find my spot. Um, the I know we kind of talked about production and some of the technical stuff, but
Mhm.
when you guys were first not pitching this to me because I was sold on it when Jeremy asked me, but you guys kind of were talking about how in the programs and the software that you use, you guys made like almost physical constraints for
Oh
how
yeah,
the world could be.
yeah.
What were some of those kind of technical things that you either had to learn or make up, or was there a reason that you guys gave yourself these constraints?
Yeah. So I talked briefly earlier about
Yeah.
that innovative wood carving stop motion technique. So
Mm-hmm.
the conceit was that we wanted to look like a unique wood carving for every frame of and new pose of animation.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had Rich Fallett, who's just a texture wizard, at Disney, and Colin Eckert, who was the supervisor for the look team. And, Rich went off and prototyped basically pretty incredible new tech for us to be able to do this. And so that was amazing to just be, and again, there was the reasons for the tactileness, the truth of materials and all that. But one of our early inspirations, again with stop motion, was that one of the big words we had was handcrafted. Like that was
Mm.
a word in kind of bold and the banner over this film, which was so important to us because we were saying something about the handcrafted side, right, versus
Mm-hmm.
the synthetic, man-made side. And so that handcraftedness, we wanted to feel it in as if this could have been a tactile stop motion set. And so we did that even with the lighting and how we would light the thing. I mean, look, we would even do weird things in lighting where it would look like stage lighting, where you'd have almost two, like things that you don't want to do in lighting, we were like asking for, which was, like show the double shadow of like kind of like a blue and magenta stage lights, like something you would
Mm.
see at Disneyland, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you actually look in the first sequence with the cub and you look at some of the shadows, you'll see those double shadows as if it was a
Huh.
stage light.
Oh
That's
wow.
that is a subtle thing
Mm-hmm.
that kind of tricks your brain and going, is this real? Right? Is this there's like a little human error or something like that baked into it. And so we would do that on every front, effects and animation and the set. Like so we did say if we had a building, a warehouse, and we had only so many square feet to make this film, we would have to build full scale models for close up shots. We'd have to build
Mm-hmm.
quarter scale models for some of the wide shots. And the detail on that would get smaller, right? With a quarter scale model, you know, that's why the trees across the way are kind of just like more cut out.
Mm.
It's also to kind of symbolize the fakeness of it. They look like facades, so
Mm-hmm.
it's a world of fake facades. But also, it's just one of those things where the further away something got from camera, the more we would decimate the geometry or
Hmm.
lower the tessellation or the geometry, the poly
Mm-hmm.
count. So it would look more 8-bitty, for a lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so more faceted and just lower resolution. And so we would do that. And we even had different versions of the wood carving wobbling on the bear,
Mm-hmm.
where there were high frequency kind of like tight wobbling stuff that we would do with the silhouette of the bear, and then there was big broad movements on that to kind of give the bear more asymmetrical kind of silhouette changes for every new pose. And if we were further away, we would use the big broad stuff, and we were closer up, we would do the tighter stuff.
Wow.
But we did that with trees and rocks and everything, you know. And the effects were on variable frame rates, and
Hmm.
even if you look at our Instagram reel, there's one about adding kind of this a human layer to the animation where the animators would actually um, scale up. We have in our character rigs, we have the ability to scale up muzzles and noses and ears. So, but you can kind of very quickly add a noise to the values of that, kind of like a
Hmm.
randomizer of like taking the scales and kind of randomizing it over time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then we actually took the main root of the character, which you can place kind of like a main control of something of
Mm-hmm.
the character, and kind of slightly rotate it around because the thinking was that if this was a stop motion film and if it was a unique wood carving for every pose animation, the animator would have to remove it, maybe mark it with a pencil where the feet were or something,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'd have to take the new wood carving and kind of try to line it up. But there
Mm-hmm.
would always be subtle kind of
Yeah.
this
Slight
stuff happening,
variation.
right? But that was kind of the inspiration from the whole Rankin Bass stuff, the Rudolph the
Mm-hmm.
Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yep.
And so we were really, that was some of the stuff that we were referencing as like look and styles. But like even in lighting, they were doing Greg Culp, who was the DP for our lighting department. He added animated light variation. So like the aperture or the exposure would kind of come up and down subtly. So you would kind of get
Wow.
this idea of um, you know a stop motion imperfection in a way. We used go motion techniques. We used live air and like CG animated techniques where it was like we're using different effects cards and stuff like that. I mean, we used every trick in the book. And
Yeah.
there were some people who had done stop motion at Annecy, and they were like, this wasn't stop motion, and halfway through we were mad that we learned that it wasn't stop motion, and like, so we were like tricking people who were, and that was always something we said. It was like, wouldn't it be cool if like people weren't exactly sure what this was?
Yeah.
Like, is this stop motion? Is this CG?
Yeah.
So we were trying things, and it
That's
was
cool.
all really in service again of that narrative to bring out the relationship. So
Yeah. What would you say was like the biggest risk you guys took as filmmakers, either doing something new or just the whole thing in general? Was there one thing that stuck
yeah.
out to you?
That stop motion thing was a huge risk. We didn't know if it was going to work or if
Yeah.
the eye was going to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a crazy concept from the beginning, and I remember Jeremy being like, "Is this going to work?" I was like, "I don't know." And even though we had cool prototypes and stuff, and there's that there's an actual phobia of like creepy crawly things, if like patterns and like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the phobia is called, but you can maybe Google it, I'm sure. So we wanted to make sure that it didn't look like a bunch of creepy crawling ants on this character, which you could very
Like with the
easily
fur
do.
change.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so we needed to find the formula of what the eye would accept. And so there was a lot of, right, we don't have time for this, right? This is all good and dandy if you're being paid by a major studio to do this, but we were trying to figure this out in our free time.
Yeah.
And so, but we had an excellent team with Graham Silva, who was the animation supervisor, and Wayne Unton, myself, and we were banging on this and trying to figure out the formula of it. And eventually, I think I'm very pleased with the results, and hopefully isn't too distracting. But yeah, it was just one of those things where that was a major risk. I think the other things were doing this for free in our off time, right? Like
Yeah.
that was a huge risk. It was difficult on our families, on our wives. I would say that it was difficult on our crew. I mean, you're really asking people to do more work after work. And it's what they signed on for and it's what they wanted to do, but that's difficult. And the risk is always ruining marriage or ruining relationships or whatever. And so I think fortunately we have very supportive wives, and they saw the vision of what this could be.
Yeah.
And so they were behind us and supported us. But I think those are probably the big ones, but I'm sure there were others.
Yeah. I want to be respectful of your time. I got a few more if you got time for them.
I've got time, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I can go a lot more, but
Yeah.
I'll keep it. I'll keep
We
it a
have a
couple.
list of 72 questions. Say no, Nathan.
Nice. Well, you know what? To be fair, he's done a lot of free work for this film, so he deserves this time.
No. Okay, so coming in out of it, you've had your film's done. We've printed print masters. You guys are submitting to festivals, and you get into that one. You film a little crew video at Sony that you're gonna tell everybody. Like, what was it like getting into that first festival, and then all of the other ones, full circle to Oscar shortlist kind of thing? Like, can you describe that roller coaster of something?
Oh man, I don't think people realize that. Well, let me back up and just say, I have a confession to make. I was like, what is the big deal about putting laurels on like you see these little leafy things on it, and it's just like, what? For people that don't know, I mean, there are people. I mean, I'm in the industry, and I'm like, I don't know. And it's not until you make a film and you start submitting to festivals that you realize the worth and the value and the meaning behind those. Yeah. But I'm kind of like, what is so like you didn't win. Like, why are you putting? You know what I mean? Like, you put I understand the gold wreath and you won the thing, but like you just got selected. That's not special. Well, come to find out, it's extremely special because to get selected to some of these, there are thousands of applicants. Yeah. Sometimes 5,000-7,000 people. Like Annecy, for example, was like a huge bucket list place. I had been once before. It's like one of the premier festivals. That one, Anamayo is an amazing festival as well. So like there were festivals that were like, how cool would it be able to be to get into these animation festivals that I'm very familiar with. And then I knew about a lot of the other Oscar qualifying ones as well. That was very excited about as well. But there was as an animator, by trade, that's what I do. It was one of those things where like Annecy is like the one that you wanted to get into. And
Yeah.
so and just to be selected by any of the film festivals, to get that first laurel, when you realize that it's actually like 2%. It's like under 5% of all the submissions. Those are the ones that are selected.
Wow.
Like when you actually do the math on some of these festivals, you go, that's an incredible honor. You've already won in a way to be selected and to be put into the curation of these festivals.
Yeah.
All of them, not just Annecy. And so I have a deep appreciation for those laurels, and we hung them, just like everyone else. So ate my words, and I eated them too. And so but so to be able to go to Annecy, I think that was the first one, and then Anamayo was right after that, and we ended up world premiering at Anamayo. But I remember where I was, where I was about to do a morning workout, and I saw the email of the selection, and I just about lost it. And my wife booked our Airbnb out there right away because we both love Annecy, France. And if you've never been, you should just look at
It
some
looks
photos on
amazing.
Google. It's
Yeah.
beautiful, and it's just so this quaint medieval town, and this animation community descends upon this medieval town and just makes it this like incredible celebration of animation. They've been doing it for like 70 some years or something like that.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So like so this was I knew how special this thing was, having been once before representing Disney there.
Yeah.
And so getting to go back with one of my own films, Jeremy and I's film, that was such a special moment. And really, a lot, at least in the industry, there's a lot of like Annecy and Anamayo. I sort of see that as sort of the beginning. There are other festivals at the beginning, but just from an animation perspective, and then sort of ends with the Oscars over there. It's like the alpha and omega. There you go. Annie's to Oscars, or I mean, Annecy to Oscars, or whatever. It's one of those things where every subsequent festival that you got into, it was so special. I remember when we got into Palm Springs and SIGGRAPH. I mean, SIGGRAPH was one of those ones that I had gone to SIGGRAPH. It's a computer science art conference, and film conference, and games. I think they do games too now. But I had gone, 20 years ago, and had seen the electronic theater, and here they were inviting us to the electronic theater, and that was like, such a special thing for me to be invited there. And then AFI, which was the one we won, and there was just so many wonderful festivals that we had gotten invited to, and then, like you said, culminating to being nominated for an Annie Award. That's like the animation Oscars, right? So we have 2 nominations from there for production design, and then for the other one for animation. And then, which, by the way, Brendan Gottlieb, he was one of our lead animators who animated. If you did the film time, not shot count, he did about I think 25% or 30% of the film on his own.
Wow.
And so he was a huge, like, we were just so grateful for that. And so we were so thankful to God that he had gotten that nomination as a way of saying thank you. But
That's cool.
but also, so Greg Culp and Jeremy got the nomination for the production design, which was amazing too, to be able to give them that nod. And then the Oscar shortlisting was just one of those things where you just don't know how these things are going to be received. Even in our films that we release for the feature films, you pour your heart and soul into these things, and then you hope for the best, right? That it will resonate with an audience. And so I think that the seeing that it was resonating, I think we started gaining not confidence in ourselves, but just that the film was doing its thing, and that it was resonating with people. So we're really happy, and we're hopeful. I think that was the better word. We're hopeful that maybe we had a chance at something. So to be able to get into the short list was such an honor. Again, it feels like we've already won. Even if we don't make the nomination, it's one of those things that we just feel so grateful to have gotten this far.
Yeah.
And is a testament to all the 200 plus volunteers. Like that's the thing I'm more excited about,
Hmm.
is that we get to that the audience is giving back and almost in a way saying thank you for this, your hard work on this. And I think every award, every festival, every accolade, it's really just emboldening, empowering, and thanking the crew for their great generosity.
Yeah.
And so that's the feeling that I think I have the most of, and also thanks to the Lord. Like I think that is, again, we've always been very open-handed with this and just being like, God, we want this to glorify you, and we want this to be a gift to people.
Hmm.
And it has been. And so I think we're kind of just like whatever God wants, with the next steps. But I mean, what can you say when someone, you see that kind of nomination or recognition?
Yeah.
It's such an honor.
Yeah.
So,
Does that change your experience on the film at all, or the way you look back at it, like getting that recognition? Like, does it kind of make it all worth it at any point, or
I
anything like
hope it
that?
does for our wives.
Yeah.
I think that for yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
You do these things in like a leap of faith. You
Mm.
step out in faith and you go, we have this conviction and calling to want to make this film, and then we hope for the best and we just sort of put it in God's hands.
Yeah.
But when you get that response, I think you can't help but to feel like it was worth it, or the pain and the sacrifice that came along with that, because it was painful and there was a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so I think that when you see that, it is one way to say, oh, this is being received well. And honestly, the comments on YouTube are that as well. To
Yeah.
see that and how people, I mean, I read one comment that was saying that they were struggling with their faith and that they just weren't seeing God in their life. And then this film
Mm.
reminded them of how much God loves them
Wow.
and like strengthened their faith. And it's like that. I mean,
Yeah.
what else do you need? You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
you don't need a trophy for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
acknowledgement, recognition, that's all really nice. That's
Hmm.
really cool. And it's really great to be able to share that with the crew,
Yeah.
because not everyone, not everyone sees that as that work for the Lord, right? Not everyone is on that same page
Right.
faith wise.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe they don't value that the same way. But to be acknowledged by or recognized by, say, the Academy, that's a whole nother thing where they could feel that sense of accomplishment
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
worthwhileness,
Hmm.
So yes to all of it. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. I have two left,
Okay.
and they're easier. Um,
Save the softball for last.
well, the more fun, more not.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
I don't
Okay.
freaking know.
Okay. Okay.
Is there? So the second to last, the penultimate, is that a numbered thing? Yeah. What is a detail in the film that most people never notice, but that was just something you were super either proud of or loved, or you giggle at?
Um, hmm. Okay, I'll give you one. Um, it's not that people don't notice it. I just think that it's something personal. So I
Yeah.
had animated a shot. By the way, I feel like I sent a lot of little nerdy things that I think, like the oscillation of the textures, and like there's a lot of things that hopefully people, if they hear this, they'll go, oh, I didn't notice that. And
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
always little things, but I think the thing that's very personal to me is, so I didn't get to animate a whole lot.
Mhm.
I did animate a few shots here and there, bear gasping for air and going under the smoke,
Mm.
or I animated a tree, like seeing the bear come out of the forest and it's on fire, and so
Yeah.
like I had done shots here and there. I did a walk cycle for the porcupine. Like there were things that I picked up and helped where I could. And there was one shot where one of the artists wasn't able to finish it, and didn't get very far, and so he was just like, if you want to start over, that's totally okay, I totally understand. And so I ended up starting over, but like I poured a lot into which was the shot where the tree picks up the bear for the first time, and so I inherited that, and it's a bear of a shot, pun intended. It was one of those just lots of contact. The tree's hands were very complicated, and like I was kind of like, gosh, I feel really bad for casting this person before, because it is just like a nightmare. Anything in animation where you're contacting or you're touching or whatever, and so it's all like trying to make like the hands are massive and trying to get like kind of like little dexterity in the and trying to
Yeah.
do things with the cub, and so there was one part where he brushes the snow off the top of the cub's head when he kind of opens up his palm and sees the cub in there. It's all kind of like, what's happening? And he dusts his head off, and the little like bed head kind of pops up. And in our house, all of our kids, including dad, wake up with what we affectionately call chicken hair. And that is where it just looks like a mess. And it's the bedhead thing, right? And so it was one of those things where it was, my little cubs, a way to put my little cubs into the film, and just a little something where it's like, that's your chicken hair, and so there's a little something.
That's cool.
What's the breakdown of boys and girls you have?
I've got 3 boys and 1 girl.
Oh, what ages?
So it goes boy, boy, girl, boy. Not in the order you would expect. Everyone thinks that we were trying to get to a girl. And then it is 12, 9, 7, and then 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's 4. I keep thinking he's 5 in my head.
Yeah.
We all understand.
Yeah.
How old is my kid? What grade?
What is his birthday? What's your name?
Yeah. That's fun. There was a time when Nathan were you guys on vacation in San Diego or something? Or you guys were doing something, but him and his whole family came to the studio, and it was his first time like coming to the studio, and his kids are in tow, and they're eating snacks and seeing the score in surround sound for the first time. That was a fun time.
Oh, that's man, cool. That was so fun. Yeah, we always go down to like the San Diego Zoo in that area, just Carlsbad, and we always had an Airbnb that we love to rent there every year. Legoland is down there, So it was awesome to be. I mean, you were such a great host, Blake, and got a tour of the Foley stage and got to see how all that worked. And I think was my mom with us?
Your mom was with you? Yep.
Yeah, and she was blown away. She was just like, they do this in movies? I thought they just had the boom mic and
everything was on set. Yeah.
That was on set. Yeah. It's like, no, there's a art to this, and it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
Great.
My last question, and then Grayson and Jared have their whole list of questions. No, I'm just kidding.
Awesome.
If you could go back to the start of the project and give yourself a piece of advice that you've like learned going all the way through it, whether it's like, hey, just remember this, or this will make things easier, or whatever, what would that be?
Oh, man. I am sure there were so many.
Yeah.
I think there was a time where you would just say, trust in the Lord. And the flip side of that coin would be patient, right? I think so often, so many prayers of mine was like, why, God? Why not? Why is this happening?
Why is sound taking so long?
Why is Blake so slow? No, it was one of those things
we
where
ask ourselves that a lot, just all the time.
But just in general, he's kind of slow.
No, but it was one of those things where things would happen in life, and if you were to graph what it looked like as far as progress, it felt like sometimes 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards, and it kind of was like, and we were like, if completion is up here, it's kind of like. Yeah. It kept going, but like along the way there would be this, and I felt, during the course of the film, I felt like this was an intentional thing that God did, and I'm glad He did it, because it kept us humble, and it kept us relying on Him. There's that old saying that. Was it trials? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna butcher it. Give me a second, because it's worth it. Okay, so it is. Trials make the promise sweet. Trials bring new life to prayer. Trials bring me to his feet, lay me low and keep me there. And like the idea is that the trials making the promise sweet, and the trials bringing me to his feet. It's like it's it is the trials were the constant need to go to God in prayer, and seeing his hand really helped us to remember that like this was all of his doing.
Yeah.
Right, I felt like we were just vessels that were just moving around, but really God gets the glory for all of it. And so we always say that he's our executive producer on this film, because we don't have one on the film, but it's like he's our secret executive producer, who's always encouraging us when something maybe happened, or the threat of the technology. I mean, there were so many things that were threatening the project from never seeing the light of day. Like there was a situation where the whole OS, the operating system, was being upgraded, and it was an antiquated system, and the whole program they're giving kind of like a axe date, and that was this like looming ticking clock, which
Oh my
was
gosh.
kind of this like major stressor. And that's how I got this white stripe.
I remember that.
but-
I mean, that was a big thing that was kicking my buns into gears. You're like, hey, this needs to be done because everything's going away. So
Yeah.
Was that for Maya or Python or like what part
Maya,
of
and it was all no, it was the Linux.
Oh,
It was
wow.
so that was actually because I think the RHEL 7 was more, and I think there were like financial institutions that use this thing, and there were like things that were just their vulnerabilities that I think
Yeah.
that was known with this, and so people were trying to like let's move to a more secure
Yeah.
OS, and so that was going away, and so that was a very real thing that was out of our control. And so, but what was actually interesting about that was that it actually made the film get done. So on the one hand, it was like this felt like this was a bad thing that happened, but it ended up being a good thing to get us across the finish line.
Driver.
It was a
Interesting.
driver for all of us. And so even in that, you're kind of like, Spurgeon would say, I've learned to kiss the waves that throw me against the rock of ages. Because ultimately, there's going to be some character shaping and perseverance and things where you see the hand of God, and and then you just trust him more, and I think that there was an element of as that stuff would happen, the more I would be at peace with the next crazy thing that happened. And that's what I would tell myself at the beginning, though. It's like, God's got this. But like you almost have to go through those trials and the difficulties to see God's hand in the orchestration of things, and to go, oh, okay, I can take my hand off the wheel. I'm actually not even driving. I thought I was. This is actually this is a self-driving car. And so that's what I would tell myself, is trust in the Lord and be patient.
Yeah.
Because if we had actually ended earlier, there's so many things where it's like, wow, I'm glad we didn't finish in 2023, or wow, I'm glad we didn't do that. You know what I mean? It was just like all these things were perfectly timed. And so it really was just it was vain, but it was also just a waste of my energy to be. I'm reminded of, again, the Sermon on the Mount, where it's, where Christ is saying not to worry about what you eat or what you drink, and how today has enough worries of its own. Don't worry about tomorrow's. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to take care of itself. Today has enough worries of its own. And so, like, there's an element of like, why am I worrying about tomorrow when the God of tomorrows holds it together, and I don't have to, so there was just an element of, I think that's practical for every, part of walk of our lives. But in this film, when you're kind of like got the burden of wanting to get this thing across the finish line, and be thankful and grateful to the crew for all that, and then have that responsibility, but also try to finish the thing, and the investment your wives have made and your families have made. And so it's very easy to get to a place where you're just like wringing your hands and growing gray streaks, and you know what I mean, and it's like but that, I think it's important to remind ourselves that we can't do anything to change it. So that's just it's a fool's errand to be worrying about things that you have no control over.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you.
Oh, so much.
Thank you,
was
guys.
cool. I mean, it was an honor to work on the project and play the part that I got to, and then just seeing it kind of blow up and get the recognition that I think it's deserved of.
Crazy.
It's a beautiful film in its look and its story, and we're very thankful to you for coming out here and telling us about it. That was really cool.
It's my pleasure.
Very cool to meet you. I mean, such an inspiration just to hear you talking about faith and being in the industry, and that's huge. So thanks for doing what you're doing and inspiring, 200 plus other people to work on a faith-based short film. That's just incredible. So
glory to God. So I'm so thankful to hear that, and thank you for the kind words and for having me on this.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and can I clarify, is it 52? I was trying to count all the laurels. Is it 52, 53? What's the recognition?
Dang.
I think we have gotten into somewhere around, I don't think that on our website is up to date. I think we've gotten into 60 some odd festivals now.
That's
Oh, you gotta
crazy.
update this website, dude.
That's
you gotta
crazy.
get them up there.
Yeah, I gotta get them up there. Yeah. At some point, it's like it was, because Jeremy it's a lot of work, and he did the whole
just to
website.
submit them.
Yeah, well, he did the whole website himself, and so and then there's a lot of back and forth that I was doing with festivals, and so there's a lot of work that people don't realize that it's like a full-time job. You think the film is done, and then you're done, and then it's like, no, you got like 10 more miles to run.
Gotta market it. Yeah.
Come on, it's I think at some point, you're running out of gas, you're trying to keep it up and everything else, but we're human, and so I think at some point, yes, we need to get it up, but I think that's where we're at as far as selections, and then there's some things that we've won, of course, too, which is awesome. I think all those are up to date. There may be one or two are missing, but yeah.
Cool.
Congratulations, man.
Awesome.
Yeah. Congrats.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
Appreciate
All that.
Hopefully we'll talk to you again.
Oh, it'd be my honor.
On the next one.
On the next one.
Oh, Forevergreen 2? Is this the announcement right now?
In space.
We'll wait for Jeremy to get on.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Nathan.
All right, dude. Thank
All
you.
Bye.
Bye.